Hello everyone. Today we are honored to have with us Professor Mayank Singh, an accomplished researcher in the field of computer science and engineering. Professor Singh is an assistant professor at IIT Gandhinagar where he leads the computational linguistics and complex social networks group, fondly known as LINGO. Professor Singh completed his BTech from IIT Jodhpur and his PhD from IIT Kharagpur. Since joining IIT Gandhinagar in 2018, he has contributed immensely to academia and research, especially in the fields of computational linguistics and social network analysis. Thank you, Professor, for joining us today. It's a pleasure to have you here.
So again, it is also my pleasure where I'm interacting with the student community probably for the first time, right? And I'll share my thoughts with you. Yeah, thank you.
So, since you have also graduated from an IIT, and I'm sure you might have faced similar challenges, so what choices did you make at different stages, and how do they shape you what you are today?
Yeah, okay. So that's a very nice question. So I did my BTech from IIT Jodhpur again, which started the same time when IIT Gandhinagar also started, and then I moved to IIT Kharagpur for my PhD, which is the oldest IIT. Right. So again, I moved from the newest to the oldest, and again I came back to the newest one. Okay. So the journey has been great, right? But again, I'll mostly talk about my BTech days here. So again, like first 2 years I was in IIT Kharagpur. I was in IIT Kanpur because Kanpur was the mentor IIT of IIT Jodhpur, and then last 2 years of my BTech I was in Jodhpur. Again in the temporary campus at Jodhpur, but yes, I was there. So first 2 years again, if I see my journey of 4 years, this has been a bit different than probably most of you have seen here. Maybe your first batch IIT Gandhinagar might have seen, where you are staying in a temporary campus and then you are moving to the your permanent campus, right? So but again, the journey takes you to a lot of up and downs, but it also gives you a lot of confidence of how to develop or how to create a new IIT by itself, right? So you go through that learning process, and that also brings you in a lot of confidence as well as a lot of learning that go with you when you leave the institute, right? So one of the learning which I got in these 4 years was like, you need to have very good academics, right? You do whatever you want, right? You explore whatever you want, right? But at the end, whatever you want to pursue, people will always ask you about your academic credits, what you have achieved in your academia at the end. Okay. So and again, apart from academia, maybe you can think of something which makes you distinct from others, right? So just one such thing, right? You can explore 100 things, but at least you should be good at one such thing which is along, like, which can go with academia, or which are actually can be orthogonal to the academia. But one other thing from the academia could be great thing for you to explore, right? Now if I talk about challenges, so I don't think there are kind of lot of logistic related challenges. There are challenges like you always face, right? I didn't prepare for my quiz. I slept in the night. I was not able to wake up in the morning. So all those, like, the challenges are always there, right? We were students. I was a student, right? But again, I think it was more related to academia. So not more on the logistics side, right? So sometimes the grades were bad. So we need to then do better in the other. So we have to maintain the CGPA and all, right? So, and then there are some issues. Most of you might have faced those issues where, like, you have some peer pressure. People are around me are doing very good, and probably I'm not that good, right? That's okay, right? That happens. I won't say that I'll not give you a gyan where I'll say no, you should never have all this kind of things in your life, right? These things are going to happen, right? But that's the age, right? So this is where you will learn how to kind of how to escape from this peer pressure over the time, right? That is again one of the part of this entire 4 year journey.
So I would say that was a really beautiful answer, sir. And picking up from doing well in academia and exploring, I would like to ask that how can students decide between pursuing their internships, whether in academia, research, or industry, and what are the factors that they should consider while doing so?
I think this is again a very interesting question. All of us have faced this question, or like this dilemma when we were in our BTech days, right? So possibly, I think, first year or first 2 years, this is the age, or this is the time where you should explore everything, right? You should try to explore everything, and then after second year at least you should have a something like some clarity in your mind whether after 4 year you want to go for academia or you want to go for industry, right? And this is where you should plan for your future years, right? So maybe if suppose you are planning for academia, then start working with some professors, right? Start working for some with some professors, right? Try to work on some research papers, try to work on some research projects, try to get at least one publication. Okay, again people might say that maybe there is no use of publication, it is about the work that you do, right? But then all this matters, because you are not alone when you are going to compete with the global kind of the best set of students across the world, right? So publications are always needed if you are looking for academia, and I think 2 year is more than sufficient to get at least one good publication in top tier journals or top tier conferences, right? That's one thing. Now the second thing is, if suppose you are serious about like that, maybe I'll not go for academia, I'll not go for higher education, I'll go for industry, right? Most of the kids actually go for industry, right? So there's nothing wrong in that, right? Then in that case you should actually start preparing after your second year. That maybe again there are different ways. So maybe you should have very good command. If suppose you are planning to go in CSE core companies, right? So you need to have very good programming skills, right? If suppose you want to go in some company where which works on databases, right? Then start working on the databases, right? Learn about different types of databases. If you want to go for ML related companies, again you should have something in your mind. No, I'll go there, right? I want to whether go for a research lab or maybe an industry research lab working on this particular domain, right? 2 years is more than sufficient to kind of build a very strong foundation for that particular domain, right? Now if suppose you want to work on some AI ML lab, right, then start working on the AI ML project, right? Start contributing to open source project, right? So start creating your GitHub profiles. Okay, start contributing there, because at the end people will compare you with the rest of the crowd who is also going to apply to the same for the same positions, right? And these positions are very limited and there is enough time, right? So again I'm not very ideal person, so I'll not say work for 2 hours every day, right? But at least dedicate some time per week, right? That is up to you whether during weekends or during weekdays, but dedicate some time which can lead you to what you have planned in your at the end of your second year, right? So that would be my kind of advice to you.
So that was a very realistic advice, I would say, sir, about creating your own niche and then working towards it. So many students are very curious about research opportunities, especially in the field of computer science, and mostly are the students who are not majoring in computer science. So do non-CSE students have equal opportunities for CS research internships? And if they apply, would CS students typically be given priority?
Uh, Again, this is based on my experience. I would say most of my students, at least the student with whom I used to work, they are non-CSE students. Okay, so it is not about CSE and non-CSE. It is more about like you should have an enthusiasm to work with one. Like in my case, it is like you should have an enthusiasm to work with the professor and on a research problem, right? And then you are ready to devote some time to that, right? So I think that is what we are looking for. And again, if you see like IIT Gandhinagar's curriculum is very different, so you don't have to kind of so like you can pick a project even in your second year, right? And then you can pick these project courses at a per semester, so you can explore working with different professors, right? So that's how it is. But again, I don't see any distinction which we made while we select students for different project courses.
All right, sir. So, when students typically apply for internships or summer projects, professors often receive numerous applications. So, how do professors evaluate these profiles of students and especially the external applications? And mainly, what should the students focus on while applying?
We get in my case, I'll again give you with my example, probably that might not be true for all. For a single SRIP position, we have received almost 1600 applications, and out of these 1600 applications I have to shortlist only one. Okay, so so I'll tell you how we do it, at least how I do it. So the idea is very simple. We look for students who have a decent CGPA, right? That's our one of the criteria. And again, that's not the only criteria. The reason for having good CGPA is that student is at least serious about the academics. Okay, and this is a research lab and research project the student is going to work on. The other criteria is where, like, if that student already has some working experience on the project he is going to work on, right? So maybe some background research that person has done, or some background project, some background knowledge of libraries and other related information that person has, right? So these two criteria are something which we look actively for, and one of the reason why we look for these criteria is the following: that internship duration is very short. So probably it is mostly, it is 1.5 month or 2 month, right? And we want to spend time on students who so we don't want to spend time in just training the student for the entire 2 months of a duration, right? So we want people to start generating some output also, from maybe not from the first day, but at least after 1 week after they are joining here, right? So these are two major kind of the areas which we look for before we start shortlisting people.
Right, sir. So, as you mentioned, a good CGPI. So, what, according to you, would a good CGPI would account? And is there anything like for a research internship, you must have a better CGPI than if you are aiming for an industrial internship?
Again, I don't have those numbers, right? That depends on the applications, right? Because again, if you see again, there is no number. I should not say that you should be above 9 or above 8, right? But when I say decent, it should not be around 4, 5 or 6, right? So that's the kind of thing I'm talking about. So I'm kind of filtering out the lower CGPA people, right? But at least higher is all okay. That's my first criteria. And the second criteria, that you should have some experience in the project which you are going to work on, right? When I talk about industries, so industries, not all industry keep this very hard restrictions on the CGPA, but yes, industry do keep these hard restrictions on the CGPA, right? And this is where you can talk to your seniors, okay, because they are the best set of people with whom you can talk, because they are actually working in the industries, and they will exactly tell you what their industries are planning for the next year hiring. Okay, and most of your seniors are actually in different industries where you are actually going to apply. Okay, so again, companies actually do prefer people who have high CGPAs, right? But that is not true for all the companies also, right? So, but one thing I must tell you, all the research labs, they are not even looking into the CGPAs. Academic research labs, they are looking into your contribution to the open source community. They are maybe looking for your research papers and your contribution to the actual open source research. If